We're live. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're back for another episode of the Manhood Tree Podcast. We took off last week, Zoe.
Yeah, we did. We took off. Everyone took off last week, I think.
Everybody did?
Because when we're off, everyone's off.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
Nothing's happening. If we're not working, nobody's working. So, for those that don't know who forgot after we took off a week, my name is Abdul Rahman bin Muhammad. And across from me, we have
Alonzo Lee Beckett.
Alonzo Lee Beckett. Every week we do this show. This has been a good year. Even though we took off last week, we are on episode 43. That's a lot of episodes for a year. I mean, if you think about it, there's only 52 weeks in a year. To get 43 episodes in, I think that's a pretty good deal.
I do.
All right, so today we have. I think we have some amazing guests today. So I'm actually very excited about this episode and to hear what our guests have to say. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Over to my right, we have
David Fuller, Hartford resident, project manager, IT yogi guidance.
I love it. Hey, David, do you know Ken Green?
I do not know King Green.
You should meet Ken Green, right?
Yes.
Because of their voices.
Yes.
He has the same kind of voice as you. Very deep voice, just like you.
You can read.
When he came on the show, he sat in the same spot.
He did.
So, boom. It's the deep voice seat. And then over to my left, we have.
Good evening, everyone. Buenos noches.
Yes.
Bonjour.
Hilarious.
Bon dia.
Yes.
Ni hanenje. Dobre utro. Namaste.
Yes.
Sawadi. Shawem. Manga nangu manga. Kumu ye.
Yes.
Sopa wanang sung. Assalamu alaikum. Privet.
As-salam alaikum. As-salam alaikum. As-salam alaikum.
I knew he was going to get on me.
He always messes it up. So I'm like, come on, son.
But my name is Kevin Booker Jr. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Abdul. Yeah. Thank you, Zoe. I'm so happy and excited about this show.
Yes.
I'm the CEO of Booker Empowerment LLC. I'm also a college professor. And most importantly, what I want you all to remember, especially about myself, is that I'm a man of my word. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure and honor to be here and be on this show tonight.
That's a big deal. A man of his word. I concur with that. I was gonna ask Booker if I could hold $500 today. So no, that's so funny. All right. We like to get the show started off with a card from the Dream Chaser deck, and I don't know what's the audio right now.
I'm just making sure everybody sounds
I can't
good,
hear
man.
myself. You just took my hearing out.
You sound amazing, actually. I don't know why you say that. You sound good. I was worried about
Test.
you guys.
Nope.
You're in, man.
I'm not.
I hear you.
You took out my mic.
No, I did not.
My hearing.
I did not.
Thank you. I'm back.
That's too loud.
No, that's good. That sounds great. That sounds great to me. I don't care what you guys. Listen, take it a little bit. Okay. So what I like to do is everybody got a card. So I'll have you start. And basically, what does your card say? Okay, I'm gonna go to Booker. Booker, what does your card say?
Yeah.
And what does it mean to you?
My card says no risk, no reward.
That's a good one.
So when I think of having no risk, no reward, I think of the fact that I wouldn't be where I am today, coming from where I come from, the north end of Hartford, all the trials and tribulations that I had to face. I had to take a risk to step out of my comfort zone in order to move forward.
Right.
And the reward that I received by stepping out of my comfort zone was being able to navigate different spaces, also travel, learn and grow more about myself as an individual.
I love it.
So that was my reward by stepping out of my comfort zone. I had to take a risk in order to develop myself into a better human being.
Awesome. All right. David, what did you get?
My card says, no, you can do it. Now do it. So what that means to me is just to speak, just to be comfortable with living my experience and talking about my experience and where it came from. Because everything that happened to me in my life brought me to where I am today. And that has always been journeys and inspiring for me. So my goal is just to inspire people that no matter what you're going through, you can get through it.
I love it.
That's right.
So you find your card?
Found the card. Okay. It says, did you help someone today?
Oh, did
yes.
You? Who'd you help?
So, my wife, my son.
Okay.
Every day I help them.
Yeah.
Other than them today, did I help anybody other than my wife? I have to think. I probably, you know what? I'm a helping person. I'm a giving person, so I probably did. I just didn't. It's not something I would like chart down and remember. I just do things if I
showed up for the podcast. You take the responsibility of doing all of the stuff on the podcast every week.
I do.
You got us on air on time today.
Like always.
I mean, my card says my card says a closed mouth. A closed mouth don't get fed.
Oh,
that's a hood favorite.
I know.
Closed mouth don't get fed. This one I feel like is very important. You know, a lot of times people, they get in this position where they don't speak up. And I feel like it's very important for us to speak up. It's like I think that everything I've gotten in my life has come from me actually going out and speaking up, being in front of people, allowing me to say what I want so I can get what I want. And so what I would encourage anyone that was listening today, I would say, yo, speak up, because if you don't speak up, nobody's going to know you hungry. They're just going to assume you good, and they're going to keep moving. So you need to let them know, I'm hungry. I need some help. I need some guidance. I need some support. I need something. You gotta speak up so they can know. So a closed mouth don't get fed.
Jeez.
All right, so we usually like to start off the show after we do our Dream Chaser deck cards. We like to do a little 1 minute of meditation. And so, David, I heard you had some meditation for us.
Sure, I always got a good meditation.
I think we'll do one at the beginning, and we'll have you take us out as well. So let's get a 1 minute meditation in before we get into the thick of things into the show. And I think this is always good whenever you can get black men together and do some meditation. Is always a good thing. So please, David.
All right, wherever you are, just bring yourself into this room, into the presence of this moment. Close your eyes for a moment. Now take a deep inhale. Slowly release it. Exhale. Inhale again. Exhale and release. Inhale again. Exhale and release. Continue to flow your breath in that pattern, and then just listen to the sweetness of your voice going in and out of your lungs. Feel the sweetness of your voice sinking down deep in your soul and touching that space that always wants to be heard, your spirit within. And just be still and let that resonate with you for just a moment. The more we touch this space, the more it comes alive, the more it gives us hope and courage to keep moving forward and keep striving through the things that we think are difficult, when the only reality is just it's making us look inside. Ground yourself in this moment. Be still. Everything is going to work out. Good. When you're ready with that, bring your fingers, move your toes, come back into the full consciousness of yourself, and let us begin.
I love it.
Hey.
Love it.
Man, that was beautiful.
Dave, so I have a question for you before we get into the fatherhood manologues. I'd like to know, so for those that don't know, David and Booker, what is that, Joe?
Because when I do this, watch.
Yeah, you're getting too close to it. Yeah.
Because I'm kind of blind. I got to see the screen. I'm like, what is that? And then it does that.
Why don't you pull that closer to you?
It's already close, man.
Anyways, for those that don't know, David and Booker are both yogis. And
What? Excuse me, sir. What's a yogi?
I don't know. So, David, was you
Explain
going to
that to
give us a...
People think like, Yoda, yogi,
Yeah.
For me, a yogi is a man that decides to go inside and find his peace and keep that on the surface when he walks through life.
Like, are you at that level?
Yeah, what's your definition? That was a good one.
That was a really good
Yeah,
one.
I want to know what yours is.
Yeah,
I got to
yeah.
know what yours is.
I'm gonna take something that I learned from I consider David a teacher.
Is he your yogi?
He's my yogi. He's
my yogi too. You're
he's
not
my
yogi.
spiritual.
You're not my yogi.
I know.
He's my yogi.
I mean, he's mine too. Hey, he's mine too.
Is you use your mat to take out all your stress and your trauma that you're going through.
Yeah.
You use that for your guidance. That's where you can take out all your emotional stress.
Yeah.
Right on your mat.
Yeah.
Your mat is a sacred place for you.
Yeah. So I knew about yoga. Seeing I knew people that did yoga, but black men doing yoga. I saw a Booker doing when he was going through his classes, and after he finished up his classes, that's when I asked him to do brotherhood yoga. And so I thought he was going to lead it because he was a yogi at that point, but fortunately, he brought you, he brought Joaquin.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be leading it. Yes.
But I would like to know what got the two of you into. I kind of know you. There was a class, but I'd like to know what made you. How long have you been doing yoga? Why did you get into yoga? Why is it a part of your life? Yeah, just because I think that typically, I don't know if you think when you think about yoga, you think about black men, and so I think that I just like to know what led you on that journey.
Yeah, for me. At a young age, I saw a 6-foot yogi get in a 2-foot box.
Oh, wow.
And it intrigued me.
Yeah.
Didn't start yoga then. Didn't start yoga till I was 37, and my knees was hurting. So I went to yoga to stop my knees from hurting. But what I found there is that it brought me that space and that peace that I wanted all along. Yeah. And I've been doing different things trying to get there. But then when I got on the mat, it felt like you finally come home. Right. So for me, getting into yoga was just about having a place to go work out my stuff. To really just be one-on-one with myself, my breath, and get deep down and then just feel that peace and be like, oh, wow, things all work out. So that really was my driver. I mean, I've always had a spiritual practice. I was born and raised a Baptist, so I come from the church. Yeah. So I had that in the background.
Right.
But when I wanted to go deeper and go out and expand, that's where I found my deeper search at.
Mm-hmm. That's deep. And what about you, Book? I mean, you went through the class. Was it this summer or was it last spring? What was going on?
So I actually went through my training during COVID.
Okay.
It was 23 of us.
Okay.
And what inspired me was a woman by the name of Annie Simard.
Mm-hmm.
And Annie Simard, she's the founder of the Yoga Shop, which is in Glastonbury, Connecticut, and Avon, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And she offered during Black Lives Matter movement, she got scholarships for people of color to become certified yoga instructors.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that it was a great opportunity to be able to give back to my community.
Yeah.
Something that is therapeutic, something that will tap into their inner self, make them even feel that they can release a lot of the stress and systematic oppression that they deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yoga was another avenue. So I felt like if I got trained, then I can also use that as another tool, a coping mechanism that people in my community can use.
Yeah.
So that's the reason when it really encouraged me to become a yogi.
Yeah. I appreciate it because over the last, I don't know how long we've been doing it. It felt like we started in the spring. We had to start in the spring.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So for the last, let's say 8 or 9 months, we've been doing brotherhood yoga. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you. The last class, I was very disappointed in myself because I didn't really get into, I wasn't feeling that good. But the classes before, I always liked the challenge of it.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. I know Zoe works out every day.
It's still challenging, though.
But that's the part I like about it. Is
I burn more calories doing that than when I'm at the gym by myself. It's crazy. It's
when I see you struggling a little bit, I'm like,
yeah, it's hard.
I'm pretty happy about
it.
I'm like,
it's difficult. It's definitely difficult.
Yeah, but I think one of the things you brought up a good point. You talked about how you felt by participating last time, and as I told you then, you were exactly where you needed to be at that moment.
Right.
It's not always about the physical effort that you can put out, but can you step on your mat and be present in that moment? And in that moment, go and find your sweetness, your silence inside. Yeah. And if you discover that, that's more than doing any posture where you get your leg behind your head, because the key part is you're getting connected with your soul. Right. And that's really what it's all about. All that movement and everything just gets you tired and quiet so that you can sit down and rest and go into Savasana.
Right.
So maybe
I love Savasana, by the way. That's my favorite one.
Could one of you?
That's Dead Man's Pole, right?
Yeah,
that's
of course.
Could one of you explain, like, the to the people the importance or the significance or the reason for yoga, right? Because most people don't know the reason why. mean, most people say yoga, they be like, oh, it's
Well, let's take it a step further.
Okay.
A number of people have come on, we've invited them to yoga, and they didn't want to come because they thought it had something to do with religion
or something. They just didn't know what it was, right?
He wrote down chakras.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. On this podcast, we just talk across the board.
What's going on? I can't see that well anyway. I'm like, what?
We're gonna stop and ask you, like, why'd you do that? What's up? You good? Yeah. We don't care. It's
Something about the chakras.
because it's all on TV to see everything. Everyone see you like, hey, what is he doing?
So the answer to your question, which I believe it was, what was the purpose of yoga? So the original purpose of yoga was so that the monks could meditate for longer periods of time. It really got their bodies limber so they could sit and be in silence and be stillness. Now today that's gotten lost in the shuffle. You know, everybody goes to yoga now because they want to get a great body, they want to feel strong, they want to get flexible. And all those things are byproducts. You will get those things. But the real key part of that is about getting still and getting quiet. When you get on your mat, can you go inside of yourself and work out whatever's coming up in your life and get still and quiet? And then take that piece and walk out into the world and then interact in the world in a whole different way than you normally do. You don't react to everything. You're like, oh, I got my chill on. No need to be responsive to this. So that is really the real purpose. Now, again, I always say, whatever gets you on the mat is where you need to be. If it's the cute person next to you, it got me on the mat, I'm on the mat.
Right.
You're there to still work out. If it's for you to get thoughts of getting your leg behind your head, get on that mat. Because whatever it is, that journey is going to take you from the outside to the inside. And when you get inside, that's going to be that sweet space you're going to find. And that's going to be that voice that's always been crying in your life to be recognized and to be heard and to be awakened.
Yeah.
And when you start doing that, you start seeing the magic move in your life.
Yeah. We got to do more yoga. So with that being said, I talked to Joaquin the other day. And so we scheduled the next Brotherhood Yoga for the second Saturday of January. I think that's January the 11th.
Okay.
And we scheduled it out for the rest of the year, every second Saturday.
Oh, that's good. That's a good way to do it.
And so maybe we can make a commitment, you know, at least if we got 4 yogis. So we got David, we got Booker, we got Joaquin, and we got James Hodge.
Yep.
And so if one of you guys show up, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Me and Zoe aren't going to become yogis.
No, I don't know.
We're just going to come in there and work out.
Participants.
Oh.
Participants.
You know, I'll be honest with you, my favorite session we had this year, though, was when both of our sons came.
Yeah. That's and McCory's son came, too.
McCory's son came. Was that the same day?
Yes, it was. Because he met Zoe. Yeah, same thing. So they all came that day.
That was great because it's like fathers and sons just doing stuff. That was like a very powerful session for me. I always like seeing when Zoe
Adi came next. He came last week. We couldn't. I had to tape something.
He was in there. Wow. He did all the working out for me. He was right next to me the whole time. Yeah, it was dope.
Yeah, it was real dope.
And so what I would like to welcome any fathers out there, any fathers and sons, come out January 11th. Yeah. Spend some time with your son. I think it's amazing just to be in the same room with my teenage son. And he was there. This last one, he came on his own recognizance. Yeah. I actually had left, and then he showed up. And so I was like, that was
in
nice.
his own ride, like
he has his own car.
And he said he loved it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think you know.
And you know what? You may do something with your son. I'm guaranteeing you, all of you probably that activity is something both of you probably never have done.
It's nice.
So it's something new you can experience with your son. Like y'all both don't know how to do any of the moves. So it's like you can learn together. That's another way you can appreciate it.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. So we're inviting people out January the 11th. And for the rest of the year, come to Brotherhood Yoga because it's an opportunity to learn something new, to get into yourself, and maybe you'll get a sweat. You'll get a little workout.
Oh, you'll get a sweat.
Yeah. You'll get a sweat.
Yeah, you're going to get a sweat.
Sweat is guaranteed.
That's what your debut is.
Yeah, a bunch of noises are coming out of it, too. You know your dad could make. You'd be like,
So this episode, what we're going to do, we have a number of people who have done fatherhood manologues. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to have both David and Booker do their fatherhood manologues. One of the things about the manologues, we usually do it like a performance. And I don't ever feel like after the performance, we get an opportunity to talk about the little nuances in each monologue, things that people say that, you know, you might have kind of like went by it real quick, but it actually is an important part of the monologue. And so today we're gonna listen to your monologues. We're gonna also kind of like do an interview about the monologues after we finish them. For those that don't know, the Fatherhood Monologues program, the project, it started back in February of 2020. I asked 10 men to write a story about being a father or being fathered. And we did our first show in February of 2020 at the University of St. Joseph. It was a great show. And initially that was it. That was going to be the whole thing.
That was it.
But after we practiced for the 6 weeks leading up to the show, we did the show. Opportunities kept coming up where, you know, Alonzo videotaped our monologues. Steve asked us to do another show, you know, for us to be mentors for other people. I think that it just kept having momentum, so we kept it going. Since February of 2020, we've had 4 cohorts, and that includes a cohort that we did at Cheshire Prison, where we had 14 men write fatherhood monologues, and they had an awesome performance. I actually have a new cohort at Cheshire starting in January, where we'll have 25 men in that cohort. So I'm very excited about that. Additionally, myself and Malik Champlain, at one of the New England Fatherhood conferences, we started doing what we call the Fatherhood Monologues Workshop. And so basically what we would do is we would perform our monologue, and then we would give the audience 25 minutes to write their own monologue, and they would come up and they would share that. That workshop was very impactful because you know, when people talk about their experience with a father, and I mean, this was the first time we included women, you know, so it was like women can only write about their experience with the father, not being a father. Right. And so when people shared those experiences, what you started hearing is, what I started noticing is that there's a lot more trauma sometimes. There's a lot more pain. And then there's also wonderful stories about fatherhood. Yeah. But I think that it's a tool for me to be able to teach like people who work in the field of social work, who work with fathers, how the impact of whatever you feel about your dad, good or bad, sometimes you bring that to work with you. So sometimes you go into work and you have a great relationship with your dad, and you're like, well, because this man doesn't have a great relationship with his child, I don't want to deal with him. And you bring that to work with you. Or you have a bad relationship, you have trauma, you have pain around your fatherhood relationship, and you bring that to work with you. And so when you go see a father and he's not doing what he's supposed to do, or he's not talking the way you would like him to, you bring your own pain into that work as well. And so I just want to, through the monologue workshop, what we were trying to do is make people aware of what they're bringing in the door with them, and how, you know, you could be able to use it for more good than bad. We want to be able to say, even though I had a bad relationship with my dad, I want to make sure that this kid has a great relationship with his dad. And so we want to be able to kind of help them get to that place. In February, like I said, we're going to celebrate 5 years of the Fatherhood Monologues. And my hope is that everyone who has written a monologue, especially the main people, like the cohorts, that they all show up and we get to hear each other's monologues again. We spend some time together. And my other hope is that we'll get some people from our community to come out, and maybe they'll write a monologue that night and they'll be able to share something. So, so you said we're gonna have David go first, because you like to be the show closer.
No,
that's Kevin Booker for you.
How you doing?
That's how you doing, man. Show closer. All right. So David, this is like a workshop for you. This is your first time with the Fatherhood Monologue, first time sharing it, and so the floor is yours.
All right. Fatherhood, a spiritual journey from birth to death. Seems like it was just yesterday. I was looking over in the corner and saw my father's shoes. He had 2 pairs of shoes. He had a work pair of shoes, and he had a church pair of shoes. His work shoes he wore for over 30 years, worked 2 jobs from 7 a.m. in the morning to 11 a.m. at night. But even in all that time, I never felt like I missed him, that he was not there. He was always present in my life, and he always cared for me. And then there was his church shoes, which was war on Sunday morning, when he went to church to serve the Lord and to be a deacon in the church and to pray out loud and to hear him call on his father in order to keep help and keep him going strong through his life. Now, when I reflect back on that, I realize that all my life, all I've been doing is walking in my father's shoes. As a little kid, I remember trying to put them on and go across the floor and stumbling and never feeling worthy in them. But see, the cool part about him is that man had some great pair of shoes, because I couldn't feel them. But what he taught me while he wore those shoes is what got me through life. My father was not my biological father. He didn't contribute the seed that birthed me. But what he did do, he came along and picked up something that was thrown to the side of the road and said it was worthy, and took it in and said, I'll make you into something. I'll show you what it's about. And that's a love that nobody can really understand unless you've been through that. When somebody comes along and says, oh, somebody threw you away, I know you got a little pain, but let me show you what life is really about. That man didn't have a lot, but what he had, he gave what he had, and that's what he shared with us. But the cool part about that is he took me from a small boy and raised me into a man. And all along that time, all I remember him saying is, I'm going to talk to you just like you're a man, because I want you to be able to work in the world, function in the world, and go out there and do things. Now, most people think, well, if he didn't give you everything that you needed, what did he give you? Well, he gave me an image. Yeah. He gave me a powerful image, an image of a man that had one hand, and he could do things with that one hand that most people can't do with two hands. And many times he made me feel inadequate, but he also inspired me, because he's like, I've got one hand and I can do this. Let me see what you can do. And he always put me to the test. The other thing that he gave me was this image of a man with a huge heart. Every Sunday when he would have me tie his tie in front of him, and, I just began learning how to tie a tie. If I didn't get it right, he took it apart and said, no, do it again. And he kept me going through that until I perfected it, until I got to a place where he said, okay, now that's right, let's go forward. But what I understood later in life was that he kept me standing in front of him so I would understand what it meant to be a man, what it meant to stand up every Sunday and get out there and do what you had to do, and then give you on Monday, go and do that job and take care of your responsibilities. So I'm not saying my father was perfect, but what he was, he created a perfect image. An image for me to reach for something, to try for something, and to strive for something. In reality, if I look back, my father only had a 6th grade education, but he knew how to dream. He knew how to live in the inner city of Hartford, coming from Caven Street, moved all the way across Oakland Terrace, and then ended up in Bloomfield in his own little space out there. He knew how to accumulate things. He knew how to hustle, but he also knew how to do the right things to get to where he wanted. He didn't have to wait on anybody. He understood he can go out there and apply himself and make things happen. That was an image that you can take and go anywhere in the world and still survive. When I think about the little lessons he taught me about looking a man straight in the eye, and then you can tell about his soul and where he's coming from and what he's about. And most people can't even do that today. Most people can't even hold a handshake today. Right. So these are the things that the foundation that he gave me that cared for me. But as I grew older, I realized I still carried a scar. That scar from that man that threw me to the side and said I wasn't worthy. Yeah. A lot of the things that I struggled with from having abandonment issues was showing up later in my life. And I understood that I needed to heal that. So even though my father gave me so much, I had to step out of his shoes for a moment and learn how to heal myself, heal my own pains, heal my own scars. Because those scars are just there to hold you back. They're not real. They're not anything that's going to deny you from doing something. You just got to be willing to go look at it and say, what is this about? So what I understood later in life is that the man that contributed the seed and put me to the side, I had to thank him, because he did contribute to me being in this earth and being on this earth. And when I thanked him, I had to release him, because for a long time I was very angry. I was angry that, oh man, how could you not care for me and want to be with me and take care of me? But that didn't matter, because he stepped aside. Somebody else came in and did do what he didn't want to do. And I was grateful for that, because when I got out in the world and I started walking, because I got an education because of this man that did what he did, oh man, I knew my life was different. Had this guy stayed in my life, it may have destroyed me. And that's what sometimes people don't understand. This journey we on, and sometimes we get some disappointments. We get caught up in the disappointments. But we got to look for the gift and the blessings in it. And these are the things that I learned still walking in my father's shoes. Dad, you set an image for me, and I'm trying to strive. And when I fall down, what do? You know, that image that he created, one was an image of God. Always rely on God. Keep your hands in God's hands. When things ain't sure, remember to how to pray. Call out to God, to cry, and to tell him about this is what I'm going through. And that's sometimes what we don't do enough, because we think, oh, we men, we got to be strong, and we got to always. Nah, my father always prayed, but he prayed for a reason, because he couldn't handle a lot of stuff. And instead of falling into the vices, he prayed. And he kept doing that and kept walking and keep talking. So, again, the image he created was beautiful. But now, as my father got older and I got older, I started to see some of that image tarnish. I started to see some cracks in the foundations of that. And I was like, man, what am I going to do? Everything I looked at and I believe, I'm starting to see some things that are not true. But what that really was a reflection of what was happening inside of myself. And it meant that I had to take some time to go and work. Because, again, he did what he had to do to get to where he needed to be in life. Now I had to say, okay, I had an image to get me to point B. Now how do I get to C and D? Now I've got to reflect on me. I'm making judgments on his stuff. That's not important. It's something I need to clean up inside. So the message there for me is more about we have to realize that we are spiritual beings. Being a father is a spiritual journey. And it's not about being perfect, because nobody's going to be a perfect father. Right. But what you can do is call on God and say, show me where and how to do things. In case in point, my daughter was 15 and a half, came home and gave me a kid. And I was like, whoa. And I was always there for her, and I'm still always there for her. But the message was real straight up. God was like, step back. Yeah. I got something to do here, and it ain't according to your plans, but it's according to mine. So I cried for a month, stepped back and said, okay, God, show me how I be a father in this situation. What do I do here? Because this was not in the plans of what I wanted to do. Yeah. Now I've got to walk in a whole different light, because God, I had this stuff set out for her. But God was like, no, step back. Take your hands off. You've done your job. You promised and you committed to never leaving your daughter. You never did that. She's never had a moment she said, my father ain't been in my life. Not because we stayed married for X number of years. We got divorced, but I was always there for my daughter, and that was important to me. The other part was always talking to her. We always got to talk to our kids and make sure that they understand how to function in this world. We live in a world that we are not guaranteed that we're going to live to be old enough to see our kids get out on their own. If we don't start functioning and teaching them how to survive today, we are failing in our responsibilities as parents. So for me, that was big. I remember her being real little and going, okay, I got to make sure this kid knows how to survive. And not just the hustle, but more or less how to make it in the world, how to talk, how to communicate, how to navigate. And even to now, I still have a conversation with her now about that. But the cool part now is I get to sit back and see what she's done with what she came. She had some stuff thrown at her, and we just said, you still signed up for everything you were signed up from the beginning. Now you're going to do it with a kid. That child has gotten her master's, got her degrees, got her paperwork. She's a bio something. I think she's just trying to create something to kill her dad, but that's her dude. But even my grandson now, when I see her put her handprints on him and instill in him the right things. And she ended up being a single mom. She raised him a long time with her mom together, but she put the right fingerprints and the right molding around him. And I was like, damn, I ain't had nothing to do with that. She was just doing that because she knew it was important what she had instilled inside of her that I gave her that she had now do with the son. My grandson is playing for a D1 school this freshman year. Awesome. He's shining like crazy. So when I say it's a spiritual journey, it really is about being a father and keeping your hands in God's hands and saying, how do I do what I got to do with this child that we have in front of me?
I love it. I love it. It's a lot of good stuff. Give him another little round of applause. So David, I did have a couple of questions. I think you said there was one part where you kind of you took a turn for us, right? You were talking about your father, and then you said that it wasn't your biological father, but he basically, it was like you said your biological kind of threw you out, but he took you back in, and then you also did he actually have one arm?
Yeah.
Okay, because I wanted to make sure I caught that because you You said he could do more things with one arm than most men could do with two arms.
Yeah.
So what was the image that you saw when you were looking at him? Because you talked a lot about the image.
My father was bigger than life.
Yeah.
You know, he was just a good old Georgia boy that knew how to raise crops and knew how to raise kids. He understood that it was important, and he would always say, I talk to you like a man. And I was a little kid. Right. He didn't cuss at me, but what he said, I talk to you like a man because I want you to understand you have to function in this world. You have to be out there.
Right.
So that image he created was just, you got to work hard. You got to be able to dream. You got to understand that sometimes difficulties come, but you still can achieve. Yeah. Nothing is stopping you other than yourself.
And how did you deal with that scar? So when you got older and you were finally kind of coming face to face with, okay, yeah, I did have a good upbringing, but I still had this little trauma, this pain that I didn't really deal with. I just kind of jumped over. So how did you finally deal with that?
I've always done some, I would call spiritual work, working with different types of healing modalities, and it came up. I had said I've been going through a pattern in the relationships I was in. And I was always feeling like when I went back to the women that I was giving so much to, they weren't willing to give back to me. And I felt disappointed. I felt like there was a loss in the integrity of the relationship because now I was coming back to get something and you weren't willing to get it. And this dude, Alex Wilbur, pointed out to me, he said, do you realize you got a scar from your abandonment of early issues? And I'm like, no, that dude didn't do me no harm. He did me a blessing, you know? But he said, no, you don't understand. Scars happen to you young in life.
Right.
And we are quick to bury over them and cover them up and say, oh, yeah, I'm healed, I'm good.
Right.
I'm ready to go, you know?
Yeah.
But what we find out is those scars come back up.
Yeah.
And when you're going through lives or you're going through trials with your people that you're with, that stuff will show up. Yeah. And if you don't recognize it and start saying, okay, let me go back and do something to heal this or release it, more or less release it, you know? It will stay there. Yeah. And again, I just went back and did the work. I did some healing modalities, call it therapy, call it whatever. But I went back and looked at it and understood it for what it was.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments, thoughts?
Yeah, I do have a couple questions. David, where did that commitment, because when I'm thinking about, you were in that committed relationship, that committed marriage, and when things are going a different direction, as a father, you could have went another direction. So where did that commitment come from? That you were like, your exact words were, I was committed to never leaving my daughter.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
That same scar that my father put on me.
Yeah. Can you break that down a little bit more?
Yeah. So and again, I didn't understand at that time, but in the deepness of my soul, I always had the thing, if I ever had a kid, I would not leave my kid. And that was a promise I remember making. Right. But see, the cool part about having promises like that, life will come up and test you on that. And for about 2 or 3 years, I struggled with that. I'm like, oh, man, this marriage thing ain't working now. It's going sideways. It's troubling. It's stressing me out. God, I got my hand in your hand, but this is trouble. And then one day, I swear to God, just like we're sitting here right now, I heard something going across the bridge in Stratford, and it says, leaving your marriage doesn't mean leaving your kid. Stick to being with your kid. Stay true to what you want. And that I've always done. I lived in California. My daughter, her mom, and then moved to South Carolina. I was in Connecticut, went to California. I would jump on a plane whenever I could, or most of the times, and come back and see her. And I don't want to say that I'm blowing my own horn, because I go back and I ask her, I say, hey, Jess, I need to understand something. Do you feel like you missed anything? She says, no, Dad, you've always been there. I've never felt like you've never been in my life.
Right.
And, some people think that you got to be in the same house to be there. Presence is a thing that you feel in your soul. I feel my daughter just like if she's sitting in this room with me at this time, and that's what I gave with her, and that's what I worked on creating. And then there was a time when I had to change that relationship where I had to say, okay, Jess, it's no longer a father-daughter relationship, but now we're two grown adults. So now our relationship has to change, and it's just much your responsibility now to foster what you need from me at this point in life. So for me, it's been always a learning experience about how to make that father relationship better with your child. And my daughter's taught me a lot to be a good father. When she came home and threw me some curveballs, I started getting smart. I'm like, okay, this ain't a normal kid. She gonna challenge me. Instead of being challenged and think that I have to be authoritarian, what is a creative way to make her think so that whenever she integrates something in life, she knows how to go after and look at it differently. And that's what I took on. So she made it fun, honestly.
I love it. I love it. All right.
Another thing
The mom, she was very cooperative in all of this. I'm just curious, like during all of that stuff,
we
she's
have a great relationship. Now there was times when it wasn't like that, and there was times it was difficult. But here's the thing about it: we both were committed to the kid. We're both committed to my daughter, and we said, you know what? Whatever happens, we have to make sure she takes care and she comes through. And you know, again, I got caught in some bad spaces, and I had to change my mindset. This is not about you and her past, but this is about what do you got to do for your child now. No matter what's going on, she's the one who has to be raised and protected. You know?
Right. Now, David, what was that turning point for you when you were like, you know, I have to change? Because you talked about mindset. You know, was there a particular period, or was it throughout when you realized that I have to begin to really reflect on that this is a partnership to make sure my daughter sees the two of us working together. We don't have to be married, but we have to be civil.
Yeah. I tell you, Kevin, going through the divorce itself made it difficult for me.
Right.
But what I had to do is say, wait a minute, you're getting angry about some stuff, and that's not important. What's the best thing for your daughter? And when I got into that mindset, I'm like, okay, I want my daughter to be in the house. I want to know at night when she goes home, she's safe and secure. I had to get in that space. What's best for her? And it was really about just getting out of my own feelings and my own hurt, because that was a big part of it.
Right.
And then when I started doing that, my peace started coming back to me. And that's what was important. When you realize your peace is off balance and you're disturbed, you have to look at what's shifting your peace off and move it out of the space, you know?
Wow.
is that the time you became a yogi? Was that the time?
That's a good question.
I've always been
Yeah, when did that happen during that?
I've been on a spiritual path, but that was during one of those times, because I remember getting really happy about life and other people were getting upset. And I was like, oh, something wrong with this. My peace is coming up and you getting disappointed. But it was fine. It was what I needed to do. And, you know, the thing about it, too, you asked me a good question earlier about, was it always comfortable? No, it wasn't always comfortable. But here's what I understand. God has always had his hand moving in our lives. And when I went through the struggles of getting divorced and we made it through that, and then my daughter got pregnant and she came home and my wife was like, okay, we're going to do this. I was like, whoa, okay, step back. Whole different thing. So you don't know how that journey's going to change, but when you know that the hand of the divine or God is in it, you step back and you don't have to control it. You just have to say, how do I participate in it and how do I walk with it? And that makes a world of difference. And again, surrendering is not easy because our egos get in it and we think, oh, I got this and this is what I... Nah, God got you. And even when we talked earlier about things my father taught me, he was about 60 years old, got in a car accident and had to retire. And he had 3 or 6 months with no work, nothing coming in. And he even pulled me aside. He said, Dad, he says, you know, I thought all these years, I've been working 30 years that I was doing this. And you know what? God had me all this time. And now I'm sitting here, I can't bring a dime in the house, but yet, look, God still got me in my house. He still got me going on. So I think just having that connection and being able to fall back onto that helped a lot.
Yeah. That's the truth. I had a just before we move on, I just had a couple questions that really you know, kind of stood out for me when David was talking.
Yeah.
So, David, you mentioned that your father said, look at a man straight in the eye to see the soul of a man. Now, I work with a lot of young people and a lot of young men. And in our culture today, you know, some young men say, you know, Mr. Booker, you know, I have difficulty looking someone in the eye. You know, I feel uncomfortable looking someone in the eye because of different reasons. We can get into all the different sociological factors, everything else. But what advice, you know, for some of the young people who are listening to the show, even some men that will listen to the show as well, what advice would you have for them? Because it is a cultural aspect too, right, within our Western society we live in. But what advice would you have for some of those individuals who say, I don't feel comfortable enough looking someone in the eye. It's just not comfortable for me. Why is that beneficial, in your opinion, to look someone straight in the eye?
It's always about connecting with that soul, Booker. When I'm looking you in the eye, I'm not just talking to this body that you created. I'm connecting with your spirit. So for me as a spiritual person or walking the spiritual path, I want to connect with that. And when I know I can't connect with that and I'm dealing with you, I know I got to back off.
Yeah.
Because somewhere down this line, this ain't going to work out for us, you know? Now, how do you get comfortable? Well, you get comfortable just by doing it, you know, getting used to it. Just, hey, sometimes it's about what you feel inside of yourself that stops people from looking at each other. And then you go in and you check that. Okay, what do I feel that's not worthy enough for me to look another man in the eye? And if I need that, then keep it. If I don't need it, let me throw it away. You know, because the key part is we are always pulling away the layers that don't work for us in this life. You know, you keep peeling down those layers, you get to the core of who you are in your soul. And then there's no questions about where you walk and how you walk.
The other thing is we're not all the same men.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, the reality is this. In this room, I think we're a similar type of men.
Yeah.
But if we go out into our community, we might run across some people that if you look them dead in the eye, they take that as an offense.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
When I look you in the eye, you know it's respect.
Respect.
It's like it's a respectful thing.
Yeah.
But it's if you don't learn these ways of being,
Yes, I agree.
you take it the wrong way.
Yeah,
And
he's
so
staring.
I think
Why
that,
you looking at me?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
you staring at me?
Why
Like
you
that?
staring at me, son?
Yeah.
And so I think that it's very
Great
important for us to, but I think it's an important conversation to have too, because it is like, you know, like you said something about holding a handshake. You know,
Yeah.
when you hold the handshake, you also are looking them in the eye.
Right.
There's a certain stature to
Right.
it all. But I think that these are all skills that we've learned through having our fathers, through interaction with other men, and I think that it's like you have to get out of the environment that prevents you from being like fully unengaged. Yeah.
We live in a society now where kids don't meet each other. They don't. It's even dating.
Real.
Yeah.
Like when we were younger, you'd actually date. You actually had to go up to the girl and be like, "Hey, can I have your phone number?"
Right.
Right? Like they don't have to do that now. And they can
No.
send anonymous things through like messages and all this.
I know,
So there's no really need to look at someone in their eye. And like we know, as being how old we are, we talk to somebody, we want to do some business, and I'm talking to him. I'm like, why he not looking at me? Yo? Like,
Yeah.
I ain't messing with him,
Yep.
man. Why he can't look at
something
me?
not right about
Right?
it. Yeah.
But that's like how they are. But we're feeling like if you feel comfortable and confident in what you're saying and doing, you should be able to look me in the eye and tell me exactly what it is.
Yep.
But the kids nowadays, through all the social media stuff, is like, I don't gotta look. They like this most of the time anyway.
Right.
Right.
They call you Mister, and they just look down. There's no
Yeah.
eye contact. There's no confidence.
Right.
So it's like I think it's a confidence thing. Most of the kids, like you got to get the kid was confident. If he plays basketball, right, and he thinks he's good at it, or he plays a video game, he's gonna talk to you. Look, I'm good at that game. I'll beat you. He will look at you dead in the eye, talking about that video game.
Right.
But anything else is like, go introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Hi, I'm like he's not confident who he is. So it's like I
Right.
think it's the confidence in the kid
Yeah.
that allows them to like get some confidence in the kid. What do you like
Yeah.
to do? Now you can go speak to people and feel confident about who you are and what you're doing. Because most kids kind of feel like you're an adult, you're gonna judge me. I'm not really looking at you like that. You're gonna think I'm whatever.
Yeah.
So they don't kind of their confidence is kind of shaken, I think.
Yeah.
We got to. I think we have to build them up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every time
Yes.
I get a chance, if I like shake a hand of I first of all, I always purposely shake hands with any like most men. I try to shake their hand. I don't like to do the dab.
No.
I don't do the fist bump. I like to shake people's hands,
do.
and I like to look them in the face.
Yeah.
And for me, I like to see how much pressure they put into their handshake. Because there's some men, you know, you shake their hand and they don't give you a lot of pressure.
Oh, no.
Is that we
Right?
call it the fish?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
But-
Yeah.
But and
What is
depending
that?
and depending on the age of the man, it will determine if I'm gonna give him the lesson or I'm gonna just let it go.
Yeah.
Because if they're
deep.
older than
Certain
me,
age,
that's
if
deep.
if David and I shook hands, I would, out of respect, I'm not trying to teach David
Say
today.
nothing, say
It's not. It's too late. I'm
Yeah,
not.
I'm done. Yeah.
But if you know you're a little bit older.
Oh
than me.
my
I understand what you're saying.
You know,
Please, man.
Over a
That's
certain
just-
age,
Yeah.
he's setting your way.
Because out of respect, I don't want to say, you know, Mr. Fuller,
Yeah.
you know, you need to shake your hand a little bit harder. It's like, boy, he might pop me upside the head. So I just let it be. But anytime, like if it's a young man, I'll hold his hand longer. I'll squeeze it. I'll say, yo, come on, man. Give me a little, because I feel like this gray beard gives me the access to be able to do that, so
Right.
so
That's deep.
yeah, it's important. I think the handshake tells a lot about
does.
somebody, man. Tells a lot, at least to me. I mean, maybe
I know some people. You told me I don't like him. What do you mean? He shook my hand.
yeah.
Because he'll give him the what do you call it? The fish.
The
whatever,
fish,
The
yeah.
fish hand. Like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Why'd you shake my hand that way, man?
Right.
Yeah, I don't like.
But it is concerning to me because I think about where's our society going.
Well,
When I think about like manhood and
but that's why fathers, you
Right.
gotta have fathers,
Right.
Yes.
father, because like my son was in here,
right.
and so all you guys spoke to my son,
Yeah, all of us.
and those interactions, that's how you get it.
Right.
He comes in here and he gets to see, this is how men greet each other.
Right.
They have relationships with each other.
Right.
They're happy to see each other.
other.
So he puts that in his database to say, okay, as I grow up, when I have my friends, and he has a good close knit group of friends, this is how we have to be.
Right.
And so I think that this was I love lessons where you don't have to say nothing.
Right.
We didn't say nothing. He just was able to watch it and happen.
That's it.
Those are the best lessons you can get.
Right.
And so just him being in office, being in office, he just caught a quick lesson. He don't even know that he caught.
Observation.
That's deep.
That's what we do with my people, yo. We said, just bring your son over here, yo. He can just sit in our office and learn
Sit
something.
in the corner.
I just have one other quick question for
Yeah.
David. When you said when you were in your monologue, you said my father always put me to a test. Right? You mentioned that. You said you briefly said that, right?
Yes.
Can you expand on that a little bit? Like when you said my father always put me to a test. Like what was that like for you? Do you feel like you were always on your tippy toes, wondering? Like what did you mean by that?
Well, remember,
And how did that help you become a better man?
when I was going through it, I couldn't wait to get out of the house because of it. If we were working on the car, 2 seconds. You want me to get it? You ain't got it. I got it. I can get it. I told you I can get it. And no, I'm gonna get this. If it takes me 3 hours, I'm gonna get this. My dad is not getting this done. So it pushed me to try harder at whatever I was doing. I wouldn't say I was seeking his approval, but I always knew that if I didn't get it, my dad would get it. Now, when I reflect back and look at it now, I'm like, man, I'm glad he did that. Because when I got out in the world, I couldn't say to somebody I couldn't do something. I had to try. I had to try harder, It wasn't about how competent you were. Were you going to be willing to do what you had to do? And you got to remember, my father came up in 1919. He grew up. He left home. He left home at 13 years old.
Right.
1919.
Pair of long pants. His father said, "You need to go. You think you're a man now, so get out."
All right.
So my dad had a different perspective, but he was also understood. It was always about putting your best forward and trying. There was nothing you couldn't do. You just had to keep trying. So, while I was in it, 16, 13, I wanted to get the heck out of the house. I couldn't wait to get grown enough to leave the house. I didn't leave to 25, but even then, I was grateful because everything he had packed in me. And, that's the thing we have to also understand. Every interaction we have with our kids, daughters or sons, we have opportunities to pack things in so that when they get out in life and they start going through their stuff, they know how to reach down and say, wait a minute, mom and daddy went through this. Oh, wait a minute, I got this here. I can use
That's
this.
deep.
I know how to work with this. And, again, it's just interaction and presence, but we have opportunities to grow with them or to teach them how to grow. Sorry.
All right, Book.
Wow.
You ready for your monologue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got time here, but
That's why he's trying to ask all the questions so we run out of time.
No, no.
This is our show. We can do whatever.
Yeah,
we can go to whatever.
I
We
don't
don't
have
never
anywhere
stop.
to go tonight. This is
We don't never got to stop.
This is my last thing I got to do today. So, All right, so
Yeah, man.
so Booker was one of the 10 men that was a part of the first group of manologues, and I hold that group like in my heart. And I feel like Zoe was a part of that group, even though he didn't write a monologue.
Yeah.
But he did videotape everything. He captured everything. And so, Book, please share with us your fatherhood monologue.
Well, before I begin, I just want to say shout out to you.
Thank you.
Give you your flowers now because you encouraged all of us to write our fatherhood monologues, all 10 of us who were part of that cohort.
Yes.
So thank you so much. It was very therapeutic on many levels for every single one of us. I just love the energy you always bring. Yeah. And you encourage us always to be better men.
Appreciate that.
So I want to definitely always give you a shout out now.
Thank you.
So thank you, bro. I mean that with all my heart and soul.
I believe you.
And Zoe, shout out to you because you actually were there supporting us, encouraging us, driving all around.
I was.
Going all over the city of Hartford.
I was there.
Wherever we needed to go.
That's true.
Recording, putting the videos together. And for people who haven't seen a lot of the different manologues, I would highly recommend that you watch the videos. Some incredible men have done some great work. This team here, I don't think they get enough credit at times, but these gentlemen are phenomenal. So, Zoe.
We are a team, Zoe.
We're a
That's right.
team.
Shout out.
We don't got a name yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to start
And
a
also-
name
Let's
now.
call us Batman and Robin.
And I just want
You
to
can
give
be Robin.
and I also want to give another shout out too. We mentioned Steve, but I also want to mention Godfrey Simmons.
Oh, yeah,
Godfrey.
definitely Godfrey.
Yeah.
I'm a thespian.
Godfrey,
I'm a
yes.
thespian
You
brother.
went a long way
Yeah.
with
My
Godfrey,
thespian
man.
brother. Yeah.
Gotta
That's
get a
my
shout out.
thespian
Shout out
brother.
to Godfrey,
Yeah, because
man.
Godfrey was the person behind the scenes helping us out,
Yeah.
really encouraging us to work a little bit deeper on our fatherhood monologues.
That's right.
Got to give the brother a shout out. And he also has a show coming up at the Hartford Stage Company.
Oh, he does.
On August Wilson.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I saw the last show they just did.
Yeah, so he's going to be in that show,
That's
Okay.
dope.
which is going to be dope.
Right.
Oh, he's going to be in it, actually?
He's going to be in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
I
that's
have to
coming
go
up.
check that out.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go. We'll go. We'll
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
Godfrey.
Yeah.
So, incredible actor.
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna begin mine. It's been a minute
I
since
know.
I've done mine.
No,
This is new or the same one?
same one.
This
Come
is
on,
the
man. I want
same-
something fresh.
You know?
February, maybe.
February, get something fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I'll act like it's
After,
new.
after I finish my doctorate here, I gotta get that
Oh.
dissertation done,
Still, he goes to school. He's always in school. He's always in school.
Yeah.
and then I'll be ready.
All right.
All right,
We ain't going nowhere.
I know.
We're here.
All right, here we go. So thanks again. It is an honor. Superfly. You're gonna make your fortune bye-bye. But if you lose, don't ask no questions why. The only game you know is do or die. It seems like yesterday, listening to Curtis Mayfield blast out of my father's black Cherokee Jeep. It was a day similar like today. My father, brother, and I were driving downtown. I will never forget my 13-year-old mind wanting to listen to Chris Cross to make you jump, jump. The Mac Daddy make you jump, jump. And boy, did I want to jump out of my father's black Cherokee Jeep as he approached the parking spot near the sneaker shop. I had my hand on the door handle of the back seat, anticipating when the car would come to a complete stop. And then I would have my moment to leap out of the car because I didn't want the girls to see me with my dad. As we approached the parking spot, he said, "Kevin, hold on." It was like he could read my mind. When he was parking, he looked at me through the rearview mirror and said, "Be patient, son. The road is busy. I will need your hand before we cross the street." My 13-year-old inner voice groaned. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm too grown to be holding my dad's hand. And too cool for the girls to see this. My father got out of the Jeep and closed the door. As my brother and I patiently waited with him on the sidewalk next to the Jeep. He said in a calm and collected voice, "Hands." I remember being a little hesitant about giving him my hand. He looked at me and said, "Boy, don't you let me embarrass you out here." Reluctantly, I gave him my hand. As we approached the busy intersection, he turned and looked at me and said, "I know you are 13, but no matter how grown you are, you will always be my son." I want you to understand one thing. I love you. And he would say those 3 magical words repeatedly throughout my life. I love you. Followed up with a hug and a kiss on the cheek. You see, my dad, he understood the importance of what it means to say, I love you. It's part of being a man. You should not be ashamed of saying, I love you. My father understood those 3 magical words very well because his parents rarely ever said those words to him. It became important to my father to tell his children those 3 magical words, I love you, and truly mean it. When I was learning how to ride my bike and fell and started to cry, you told me to get up. You could do it. I love you. With a hug and a kiss on the cheek. When I was in school and I said, Dad, I can't do this work. I'm in special ed. You said, you are my son. I know you can do this work. And remember, I love you. Followed by a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And when I was learning how to drive, in Weaver High School parking lot, you told me, be patient, son. Take your time. I know you can do it because you are my son. And remember, I love you. And when I was struggling in college, facing obstacles and adversity, you told me, you are a booker. And when we start something, we finish it. And remember, I love you. Followed by that all familiar hug and kiss on the cheek. And through all those trials and tribulations that my family faced and the things my father went through, Dad, I knew you always loved us. Dad, I have always loved you too. But those trials and tribulations that we faced together made me have to put on my fatherhood shoes at a young age. I never asked to be a father to you, Dad. It was hard through those years. Very hard. In middle school, I remember covering for you while you were dealing with the demons on your back, just like a parent protecting their child. And in my 20s, I remember when you lost everything, and I mean everything, and you were in and out of rehab for years. And I worked hard to stay connected to you and help you through those challenging moments. And in my 30s, I remember visiting you in prison and sending my support to you and encourage you to stay strong through all those trials and tribulations that you were facing. And although it was not easy to take on that fatherhood role through my younger years, I never once doubted you loved me. Dad, you see, I understand now as a man. You were a child raising a child. You had me at 16 years old. You were a child raising a child. But I want to thank you for your commitment to being a father and never, ever giving up. You see, Dad, your vulnerability taught me an important lesson about the impact that saying, I love you has on others. It is empowering. It is protective. And it is eternally bonding. And I plan to continue this powerful legacy of saying, I love you, and demonstrating to my family, to my children, to future generations of bookers to come, and to my mentees, and to other men as well. You see, Dad, I understand that you were demonstrating and what you were demonstrating through all those years and all those trials and tribulations. The power of saying, I love you. With all of the effects of systematic racism and oppression that leaves homes without black fathers and black Latino fathers, I pledge to continue being the father of my village. You see, Dad, when the dishes got dirty, I got Cascade. When the weather was hot, I got a spot in the shade. When I needed support, I heard my dad say, I love you, son. You see, I got it made. Dad, thank you. I want to thank you for not giving up, for staying committed, because you were a child raising a child, but for helping me understand the power of saying, I love you. I love you, Dad.
Nice. Give it to him. Give it to him. All right. Book, before I go into my questions, you have any statement you want to make or anything you want to say about, I mean, it's been a while since you did your monologue. So anything that just comes off the top of the dome that you want to say to the people?
I just want to say for the men out there who are listening to the monologues, this is very therapeutic. You know, I know for my monologue, I just took like a certain couple things that went on with my father and I, those experiences, those are different periods of my life.
Yeah.
But it's something I would highly recommend all men, and even if you create women logs or whatever you do later on, I think
They can come to the workshop.
Yep.
Yeah, let them.
I think it's
They already got a vagina line.
I know. I think it's extremely important and very therapeutic. This is something I still reflect on. I still go deeper into my heart and soul, because I believe that certain situations and traumatic events that occurred in your life really affect the man that you are today. There's a lot of stuff that I saw growing up, that I experienced growing up, whether it was drug usage or domestic violence or whatever it was that I was seeing as a kid, that majorly affected me on many levels today. You know, but also the impact that I saw growing up with other men in my community as well made me say to myself, you know, I want to be that positive man within my community, because there wasn't a lot of men in my community who were really invested completely at that level for really volunteering, helping out. You know, there was a lot of things that were going on that were distracting them at the time from really investing in young men like myself at that time who were coming up. So I became the man that I always dreamed of becoming.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start off. I have a few questions. I listened to your monologue earlier today, and of course I listened to it again right now. What you and your father had the same name?
Yeah.
You're Kevin Booker Jr.
Yeah,
And you
Kevin,
always
Kevin Leonard Booker Jr.
Kevin Leonard Booker Jr. Is your name? Oh, you're
Lee.
You're Lee. All right. So what is it like having to carry the name of someone else? You know, my name is Abdul Rahman bin Muhammad, so I have the same name as my dad.
Yeah.
But I know I have some thoughts about it. What do you think about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a conversation I had with my dad 2 months ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you bring that up,
Yeah.
because my father said as he watched me continue on my trajectory, right, in my career, he said, I got to stop my foolishness. Because, you know, my father was involved with the streets. So, and, you know, my father used to always say to us, my brother and I, you know, look at what I'm doing. Look at what drugs and other things did to me.
Right.
Try not to go down this path
Mm-hmm.
in life. You know, look at what I battled in life, and then try to go a different route. My brother and I, you know, through the grace of God, we have chosen different paths
Yeah.
in our lives. But that legacy, when I think about, I changed the legacy.
Yeah. So you're like, so it's interesting. Like I feel like I'm carrying on a legacy. Like
Right.
I feel like I could only mess it up, mess
right,
the name up.
yeah.
But you're actually
I enhanced
doing the opposite. You're bringing the name, not the opposite. Not
Yeah.
saying you're a terrible person, but you're making the legacy go in a different direction.
Yeah, I enhanced the legacy on a different level.
Yeah.
So even like his friends will say, "Wow, he made your name look good."
Yeah.
You know, his friends
Right.
even tell him that. You know, it's
Right.
like he make your name look really good.
Right.
You know, and it's great that my father and I can have that conversation.
Yeah.
You know, but the reality is that it had to come to a point in my life where I was like, I don't want to go down that path. You know,
Yeah.
that path is and lucky my father and I always had very honest conversations.
Yeah.
You know, about different things in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because my father was really caught in the street life.
Yeah.
You know, whereas I saw that firsthand
Mhm.
as like a little boy, 6, 7 years old. You know, I was immersed in that world.
Right.
But I didn't want to get involved with that world because I also knew that's a world that's going down stupid avenue.
Mm.
And lucky I had the mother I had too. My parents are teenage parents.
Right.
So they were like raising me too. You know, the kids raising kids, you know. So it was like I'm growing up in the same household, experiencing, seeing all this. And my father's learning how to become a man.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Doing foolish things, learning how to become a man, smoking weed in front of us, all kind of stuff, right?
Right, right.
Let's learn it.
Yeah.
Right? But the whole point is that he always would say, my father loved us enough to the point where he would go, I want you guys to do better.
Yeah.
Right? And even though he's battling his own demons, I knew in his heart and his soul, you know, that he really wanted something better for us.
So book. I just finished reading this this
Yeah.
book, The Other Westmore.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You know about that book?
Yeah, great book.
Okay. So
By one of our
what was the seminal moment? Because I always feel like especially for black men, I feel like there's this like you have to make a choice. So when did you make your choice? What how old were you when you decided you were gonna be this booker instead of the other booker? Because you could have easily just gone with the path that's been laid out for you. So when did you make the decision? How old were you?
I was 12.
Okay.
I remember exactly how I made the decision. You know, I think it really stemmed from just looking at my neighborhood.
Okay.
So at the time, and I'm only speaking to the choir in this room, but, you know, we grew up during the crack era.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, during that era, you know, I had, like I said, my father was on drugs, on and off.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in a multi-generational home. So I had my grandfather was battling his own demons. My uncle's battling his own demons.
Mm.
You know, and after my grandmother died, 86, that changed everything. 87, 88 was the crack era.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I knew there had to be something more in my life. I don't know what was something internally, and I think it had to be maybe my mom too. My mom always worked 2 jobs, and then just seeing her, she would bring home these magazines, drop magazines off on, you know, and then I was just like curious. I would watch certain things on television, you know, things like that. And I think what really helped me out is learning about my history.
Okay.
So I think going to the library up the street on Blue Hills Avenue with Mrs. Bright, the librarian there, God rest her soul, rest in peace, Mrs. Bright,
Bless you.
phenomenal lady. I think people like that encouraging me.
Mrs. Bright, you said God rest her soul.
Yeah, she passed away.
Oh,
Yeah, she great lady.
Is it the same as Bright I'm talking about?
I don't know.
I hope not. Go ahead.
Chris Bright, mom. But anyway, she's
Yeah.
a librarian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blue Hills Avenue.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. I don't think she's.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I know Miss Bright too, for sure.
Yeah.
She used to sell beads and stuff like that.
No, this lady didn't sell
Okay,
beads.
all right,
No,
okay.
this lady didn't sell beads. She worked at Blue Hills
All right, good.
Public Library up the street.
We didn't know her.
I know.
Did you know her? I didn't.
I
I
didn't
don't know.
All
But
right,
anyway, the whole point I'm making is that having those kind of individuals who believe in you, because representation matters.
Of course.
So I would see those individuals who encourage me to like read certain things.
Yes.
And then I was also encouraged by watching a lot of our civil rights leaders. So in my plastics class, when we had industrial arts, when they used to offer industrial arts, I wrote in plastics, the Reverend Dr. Kevin Booker Jr. Esquire. I was 12.
Yeah.
So at 12 years old,
Those are a lot of titles.
I already knew.
Yeah.
12.
Is that what you're getting right now?
That's correct.
All
so
of that.
doctorate, and I'm on the right.
Then you're gonna go back and get your law degree.
Yeah. So, but at 12
crazy.
years old,
Yeah.
I knew that there was something more.
Yeah.
And I knew there was something more I wanted to do.
So tell me why at 13 your dad was all so serious about holding those hands across the street. When I looked over it again, I was like, 13. That's pretty old.
Yeah,
Pretty old.
For that
Yeah, but
crossing
you gotta-
street. Were you like not good at crossing streets?
No, that's not it. So you gotta understand.
I was like,
I'm 13. My brothers were 11 at the time.
Like,
So you gotta understand my father.
Yeah.
So you gotta understand my father is also.
I'm trying to figure it out
Right.
because I was like, yo, at 13.
So I'm gonna bring it back to what you said earlier.
Yeah.
Because I think what you said earlier is very important.
Uh-huh.
You have different types of men, right?
Yes.
So like when you look at somebody's eyes, everybody's different. So
Yeah.
my father's a different type of man.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when you talk about street stuff, my father's one of those guys,
Yeah.
right? So like my father also with his children is like you're still a
Protective.
child
Mm-hmm.
to him.
Yeah.
It don't care if you're 13, 14, you're still a kid to him.
Yeah.
Because he also in his head would go, I know what it's like out here.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's like yet.
Right.
You still my baby.
Mm.
So let me say that again. You still my baby.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, I'm preteen. Like, come
Yeah.
on, man. Like, God, girls are. That's why I said it here. Girls gonna see me.
Right.
Because it's like, in my head, I'm a young man. I'm
Yeah.
becoming a young man.
Right.
My father's head, you're still my baby. I got to do as much as I can to protect you because when I was 13,
Mm-hmm.
I was out here running the streets.
Yep.
And I don't want my child out here rushing his life.
Right. Right.
So my father is like looking at things a lot different
Mm.
from the lens of 13 because he had me at 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, so it took me time to really process that and reflect
Mm-hmm.
on what my father was thinking at that time, but realizing that he had a different lifestyle.
Right.
You know, so he's doing as much as he can, even though he has his own demons that he's dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
But he's looking at his children, saying, his children, don't rush your life.
Right.
I'm going to keep you like, as long as I can keep you as a kid, you stay as a kid. Come on, give me your hands.
Yeah.
And he would say it with a smirk.
Right.
It wasn't like he was being all serious.
Right. Right.
Right? He was saying like, give me your hands.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but the whole point was that he was just like, you stay a child as long as you can.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. What about? I was saying I hear a lot of forgiveness in your monologue. Can you talk about that?
Well, yeah, because as I said before, you know, we don't have enough time to go through all this stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, seeing issues of like domestic violence, you know, drugs, just so many different facets of my life, you know, where there was a lot of like harm and hurt that I got to experience and observe and go through myself.
Right.
But one thing I've learned along the way is you can't hold everything in.
Mm.
You can't, that bitterness and that anger and resentment, it only will stop you from growing as a human being.
Right.
So I learned to forgive because I think my mother demonstrated forgiveness.
Yeah.
So when my mother and father, when they divorced, you know, it took my mother a few years to forgive my father for some of the things that they went through.
Mm-hmm.
But when I watched my mother forgive, I learned that if my mother could forgive, and she went through a lot of trials and tribulations and different obstacles with my father when he was going through all the demons in his life.
Right.
And if she forgave him for all those different things, then why can't I forgive as well?
Mm.
So I, you know, and then I think it tapped into myself as a human being, not to hold all this bitterness along the way with anyone I deal with.
Right.
Because if I could forgive someone like very close to me like that, and all the stuff that we went through, and the stuff that my father and I went through as well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, then I know, then I can open up, and I can say to myself, you know what? He's not. One thing I always say to myself, I gotta accept him for who he is.
Yes.
I cannot change who he is.
Nope.
That's who he is. This is the person he's been all his life.
Right.
So I accept him for who he is. So when I'm in spaces now with family members and stuff like that, I just go, this is who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I love you for who you are. And I want you to love me for who I am.
Right.
And I forgive you because you know what? Now I'm an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have the power and the leverage that I don't have to stay here anymore.
All right.
That's the power. That's the beauty of being an adult. When I was a kid, I had to stay in that room and listen to all that yelling and screaming, wait for the police to come, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Now I'm an adult. I don't have to deal with any of that.
Right. Right.
You know, I forgive you, but you know what? I also learned a lot from that
Yeah.
experience.
You say I love you a extraordinary amount, like a lot, more than I think anybody I know. Why is that important?
Were you just looking for words to fill a page?
I know,
what
man.
we're trying to.
No, I'm talking about just in life. Like,
No, I'm just saying.
if you ever talk to him, he says, I love
and
you.
he puts it in that too. It's like if it's empty space, he'd be like, I love you.
I love you.
Because empty space in the room, it's like, hey, man,
Why is that so big?
Yeah,
though?
well,
You're like one of the only people I know that said, like, actually, you've made other people
say it.
start saying I love you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Wow.
But sometimes I'll talk to some people, I'll get more I love yous in a week, and I'll be like, it's because of Booker.
It's so funny, man.
No, yeah, for real.
And you see how I say it?
Yeah.
I say it kind of begrudgingly because I didn't grow up like that. I didn't get all that I love you stuff.
Yeah.
You're like the main guy. And it's like,
And I mean it too when I say it.
I know you mean
I do. I mean it.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, if you're a good dude and all that, I'm gonna let you know straight up.
But so many people are taking your lead now.
That's good.
It's out there in the community.
That's real good, and I hope they do. Even when I'm long gone, like seriously.
Sometimes the other day somebody told me I love you. I wasn't even expecting it. They're like, I love you. He gave me a hug, and I was like, what just happened here? Whatever happened to just like, you know,
doing good. Everything's
Yeah,
good.
Oh
family?
my
All right,
gosh, bro.
I'm just,
Take care, bro.
no, but why is that important?
So
to you?
funny, man. I'm gonna tell you why. So 24 years ago, almost 25 years ago now,
Yeah.
one of the closest men in my life died,
Mm.
and that was my grandfather.
Mm.
So my grandfather was from South Carolina.
Yep.
He's from Easley, South Carolina. My grandfather only had maybe, I think, a second grade education. Okay, he can write his name with an X. Right? He was a sharecropper. All right, 1930s, 40s, all that. Right?
Yep.
And he came up here in the 50s and the 60s, right? That time period, right during the last migration wave in Connecticut. That's how my family ended up here. But my grandfather he was also, when my father and some of the other men were absent in my life, my grandfather was, even through his own stuff, he was always present.
Right.
He was always a great listener. And in 2000, he got sick. And what happened, he just, I remember calling him, and I was young at the time, and I called him up, and I said, Grandpa, I'll come and see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, like that. And he just got out of the hospital. He's like, I'll see you tomorrow, Grandpa. I got a phone call about 4 in the morning from my uncle, and my uncle said he passed. So I made a promise to myself in 2000, roughly 25 years ago almost now, that when I say I'm gonna do something, I said it early in the beginning of the show.
Yep.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And then when I see somebody, I'm not taking it for granted.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you how I feel about you now, because I don't know if we're gonna be here tomorrow. So I took that very seriously when 25 years ago.
Yeah.
When I lost one of the closest men in my life, because that was something I had to reflect on. Because moving forward as a man, I realized in life, just as a human being, we're not going to be here forever. So when I tell somebody, I love you, I'm saying that because I love what you're doing bringing to the world, the positive energy you're bringing to the world. I want you to continue doing what you're doing. I want you to continue being that incredible individual that you are, and continue being your authentic self.
I love it.
And that's when I tell people I love them, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. That's not no fluff. That's no sugarcoat stuff.
Right.
If I tell you that, I mean it. And it's because I want you to continue being you.
Right.
I want you to also remember when you are in your low moments, there are people out here who are cheering you on.
I love it.
There are people out here who want to see you be your best. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of negative energy out here, and a lot of people want to tear us down, and we need people who are on our back and who are cheerleaders, real cheerleaders, and who will just continue to be like, I got you. I'm here for you.
I love it.
I love you, man. So let's continue doing what you're doing.
I love it.
What's
the biggest takeaway you want somebody to have from your fatherhood, man of love? This is our last question.
I think the biggest takeaway that I want someone to have from my monologue is that, first one, just accept people for where they are in that moment in their life. Take some time to forgive them.
Yep.
Reflect as a man. Reflect on what's going on, even as a father, being fathered, whatever it may be, whatever situation, whatever role you're in.
Yeah.
We're human.
Mm-hmm.
We're imperfect.
Right.
You know, and just continue pushing forward as a human being, and remember to just be thankful that you are here living, and spread positive energy no matter what the situation is, no matter what you're going through. That at the end of the day, it's about legacy, and it's not just your father's legacy, your legacy. It's about what kind of energy you spreading out in the world.
Yeah.
And what do you want to leave in the world?
All right.
I have maybe off topic, but did you think like growing up? All right, so we all different age groups, right? Do you think that like white people?
We're all the same age.
No,
Like,
uncle, not no uncle.
We're quite literally.
Come on, uncle.
You're like
Come
1
on, Unc.
year younger than me.
This is
You're
my.
like- I don't know why he always does this. Yo, you're.
My God.
Yo, I'm 48.
You're not 48 anymore.
Yeah, I'm 48. What you mean I'm not?
You're-
76. We went to school together, bro. Come on,
Are you
man.
48 too?
48, bro.
All right. I'm 51. I'm 50. I'm 3 years older than you.
We were in high school
We would
together.
have gone to high school. I would have taken your lunch money. I would have ate your lunch. That's all it would. That's the only difference. I would have ate your lunches. That's all it means.
This is going south. This is going wrong.
south.
Man.
All right,
wrong.
take
It's
it
going
back.
Brought it back to 92.
This
Take
is
it back
going-
to positive.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Say would have took
I
the
know.
lunch
I went to hall. I got carried away. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry.
You went to Big Bad Hall. You gonna come take away?
I'm from New York, though. I brought a lot of bad things to hall.
Oh, my
No, let's
gosh.
keep it
All right,
positive.
so the question is, do you think like all right, fatherhood? Do you think it's probably kind of answered now, but you think white people and black people like they had like a they had a booklet already. You know
White
what I'm saying?
people?
They to raise their kids. Like you think they had like a manual already, and we didn't have one because you know how we started.
Well, sure, we had.
You know what I mean? Like a manual, like you know what I'm saying? Because the situation is not like you had as our people we had to worry about other things rather than being. You weren't really around your kids. You probably ripped away from your kids. You didn't have to. You weren't a father. You didn't. You know what I'm saying? You were ripped away from each other.
We have a very unique history.
Right. So it's like you never. For us trying to even learn now, it's like, all right, where did it really start? Because we were never really, here. We were never like together as a family. It was always ripped apart, and then you had to pull it together. Because even now, some of our families, you go back to them, we don't even know where they are, who they are. It's different names because they took us and did all these other things.
Yeah.
So like even like the fatherhood part, like even what we're doing now is like the real like beginning stages of it, because they've had so much more time of a unit. We just became like in the scope of like time, we just became a family unit.
You're talking about in
black
like
people.
the last 100 years.
Yes, like we just became a family unit. We've just been able to be together, right? Families all
David
together.
has something to say about
Yes.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm not buying it. And
Okay.
here's why I'm not buying it. Genetically, we are always been connected. Somebody brought you into this world. There's a genetic fiber or vibration in that person that brought you in. So when you talk about the father has never been present, the father's always been present because that's how you got here. Seed joined the egg and birthed you, and you came now. The presence of raising you, and like you said, other people had a presumed image of having a family, and they raised a structure. I had that too. When I think about what my grandfather stood as a father, he was like, shut up, don't say nothing. I done said what I done said. You move over there and be in the corner. That was quiet. That was his manual. When I came up to my father, that manual was a little bit different. Then when I became a father, that manual became differently. Mine became more creative. Oh, my daughter needs this. I can't just tell her shut up and get in a corner. So we've always had the present and the imprints of fathers. The question has been, have we always acknowledged it and understood what it meant? Even in their absence, their presence was there.
I think we're getting better. I think to your point, I think we're getting
To his
better.
point as well, I think at that, they're like what you're saying, men are no longer like that. That's why I said we're at a point, but then it regressed because of society and things that happen.
But I was
You know,
gonna
keep the
say,
man out the house, whatever. So
it's
we
a
kind of
two-sided
regressed,
coin.
but
Yeah.
it was there.
We've lost some of the tenacity and the strength that was there by that stern father. Like I remember, my grandfather didn't have to say nothing; he just looked,
Right? Yes,
and
I
you
have
were
paid.
done.
Mhm.
You know, now we got Dad, why are you looking at me like that?
Right.
Or what are you doing? You know, I'm like, look, you still the child, or you still this. So I hear what you're saying, but I think we have to acknowledge what we did have and understand that what we had gave us the gifts to bring us forward and to keep us striving forward. Now we look at that as, oh, I didn't have the perfect picture, so therefore I can't do. And it's not about that. It's about what you got. Find the gifts in it. And then when you find the gifts in that, then you can rise up and go for it.
That's deep.
All right,
opinion.
we got to get out of here.
Wow.
I just want to let everybody know that on January 4th, we're starting a new Manhood Tree group. This will be an excellent group, 10 weeks, every Saturday here at the office. We're going to include breakfast with that group. So, you know,
Some fruit.
like bagels, yeah, a little
A
fruit.
little fruit. You know what I mean?
And stuff like that. But basically, we'll go through the 10 weeks. I still have maybe 1 or 2 slots left if anybody's interested in being a part of that group. It's a 10-week commitment. It's a 2-hour group every week. Join us on Saturday morning. We also have Brotherhood Yoga starting the second Saturday of every month. Our next one will be January the 11th at 1 o'clock. So we're going to come out of group and we're going to go straight to yoga. And I'm going to be ready this week. I'm going to be ready next month. So we're going to get our yoga. Also, book. I'd like you to talk about your Black Men hike. We got that. When's the next one coming up?
Absolutely. So the next one is coming up. I'm happy you actually brought that up.
Yeah.
It's coming up Saturday, December 28th.
Okay.
Yep, and
That's
I'll
next-
post
the new
that's
year.
next weekend.
That's next weekend. So what I'm
Where you going?
Where is it
So the
at?
reason why I said we're actually we're planning on the hike now, the location.
Okay.
So I'll post it on the Instagram.
Yep.
So it'll be Men of Color Hike CT. We're
Oh,
doing
Men
a
of Color. Yeah, sorry.
Yep, we're doing a holiday hike so we can really process as men. You know, it's a stressful time as men.
I'm gonna try to get out to that one.
You want to go? Let's go.
That'll be,
I'm gonna
that'll be
try
good.
I'm gonna try to get to that.
Is it New London?
No, it's
All
gonna
right,
be around.
cool.
Hartford.
All right,
It's
cool.
gonna be in
All
Hartford
right.
County.
Hartford County.
Yeah, it's gonna be-
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Appreciate the
Let's
Hartford
walk
County.
in Elizabeth Park. That's an easy walk.
Appreciate
Walk
that.
on that circle.
Yeah.
We also have, like I said, the Fatherhood Manologues 5th year anniversary show. So everybody that has a manologue that's out there that's listening, start working on your manologue so you don't have to read it off a paper like Booker. You could be able to come up and
he
be able
just
to
threw me under
memorize
the
it
bus,
like,
bro.
Hell, I'm just saying, you in the book, man. Come on, I can do my manologue, no paper right now.
Me too, right now.
Yeah. And then lastly, if you ever want to go get a microfit every Wednesday at 9 o'clock from 9 to 12, you can go to CCSU and go to the what is it called? It's like the health clinic, and you can go get a microfit, basically give you a test of all the things that's going on in your body. We're also
wow.
going to be going
Yeah.
to
I didn't know that.
yeah, so 9 to 12, any day, just go in there and say, I'm down with the Manhood Tree. They'll do it up for you. And it's free.
Which building is this?
This is the health center.
What I did was
Did you go?
No, I didn't go, but I Googled it and it'll tell you everything. Just
Yeah.
put the mic, it'll tell you all the address and
At the
everything.
health center
Yeah.
on Central's campus?
Yep, on Central's campus.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Free
Yeah.
ski.
I'll
Free
go by
ski.
there this week.
Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday.
Yeah.
And if you can't go, you should still go by there and just say, I'd like to set up my appointment. And they'll set you up.
Wow.
And so
Fire.
so it's like blood pressure. They put you on the
You do the whole thing, like
yeah.
the $6 million man thing.
All of that. All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's dope. And then
That's
lastly,
awesome.
Yeah.
we're gonna be having some men's health events. I promised Petra yesterday. You guys remember Petra? She's from UConn.
Oh yeah, I do. I
With the
do.
blonde with the
Yes,
the
yes.
gray hair.
Yep.
I promised her yesterday at my first men's health event next year, I'm gonna get 100 men there. I told her I could get 100 men.
You can, because you
I
had
know.
100 in that
Yeah,
time we was
yeah,
at the
yeah.
224.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
don't know how you did that.
I don't know.
I walked. I thought it was in the
Oh,
wrong
like-
building. I was like, yo, this is us. This is some.
This is us.
I was like, what? I was like, Abdul. I was like,
know.
Abdul cracked the code.
I did.
I was like, what'd you do? He said, I don't know.
There's people in there. There was people in there. I didn't
Yeah.
even know.
It was like, wow, was you there?
Oh, man.
No,
I wasn't
Brooke
there.
wasn't there.
I wasn't
101. You
there
did
for that.
101. You did
Yeah,
101.
that's
Oh, my God.
So
a lot
we're
of
coming
people
back
there.
next
That's
year
funny.
because men's health is community health. It's so important.
Yes.
We need to make sure you guys are healthy. Go get set up a physical.
Yep.
Go get your blood pressure checked. If you're over 45, go get your colorectal exam. Go get your prostate checked. You know, check for diabetes. If you
Yeah.
you know all that. If you're feeling dizzy, you got a headache.
All of it.
Anything. You know, Jamie Foxx, the special you just
Oh,
did,
that was powerful.
Yeah.
he had a stroke.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
55.
And so listen,
Yo.
listen. These things are happening to us, and the only way you can prevent them
Stay on
is
top of it.
you got to eat healthy.
Stay on
You
top
gotta
of it.
you gotta work out, And when I say workout, I'm talking about go for a walk.
Yes.
Men of color walk. That's all. That's all you got to do.
Yep.
It's simple.
Yes.
Simple.
And,
30 minutes a day.
and get a relationship with your doctor.
Yeah. You do.
I have a relationship. I'm going to doctor tomorrow. Have a relationship with your doctor. All of them. Your dentist, your eye doctor. It's a relationship. It's like a back and forth. There's no reason for you to feel like there's somebody that's the other. They work for you. Their job is to keep you healthy. So in 2025, we're gonna be healthy. We're gonna be fit. We're gonna be brothers. We're gonna help each other. Hey, so we'll see you guys. We're doing Christmas Eve.
It's up to you, man. I'm around.
I'm doing Christmas Eve unless I get some tickets to go to DR. No, we're going New Year's Eve. So
You going New
I'll
Year's
be
Eve?
here. I'm a Muslim. I'm I'll be here. It's up to you, so.
I'm a Muslim today too.
Yay! All right, we're out of here. I would like to thank David Fuller and Kevin Booker Jr.
Thank you.
Alonzo Beckett, thank you, sir. And my name is Abdul Rahman bin Muhammad. We'll see you guys next week. As I always say, never stop dreaming. And men's health is community health.